Okay, we're going to get started. I'm not going to show you my card just yet. I wanted to show you guys what I am doing if you weren't around yesterday. I had 2 videos on Sunday. Hi Kathy, hi Lisa. What I'm doing is I showed the new colors yesterday and I showed the comparison with our current colors. And then I had you guys list your suggestions for a color challenge tonight. So that's what we're going to do. And what I did is I used random.org. I listed all the colors that were suggestions. And then I did a random draw and I picked the first 3. So we're using Granny Apple Green, Balmy Blue, and Gorgeous Grape. And thanks for those of you guys that suggested the colors. Hi Diane, hi Julie, hi Sue, hi Rhonda, hi Reba. Now before I get started, I wanted to show you guys, I just now finished printing a letter that I just received from Stampin' Up, congratulating me on earning the Greek Isles incentive trip for 2019. So this is my welcome letter, so it's now official. I haven't showed this to my husband yet because I just now printed it. So it's pretty exciting. Okay, now let's go. I'm going to go ahead and show you what we're going to create tonight using the 3 colors. Let me show you the stamp set that I decided to use first. Hi Kathy, hi Fran, hi Julie. I'm going to be using the Serene Garden stamp set. This is a new one that will be available in the annual catalog. Let me just add, there's a couple more dies. I have them out because I'm going to be using them. This is really neat. This is an embossing die. It doesn't cut. It just embosses all of this detail. So I won't be using that today, but I'll use it in a future card. And then for the greeting, I'm using the Itty Bitty Greetings. Now this replaces the Teeny Tiny Wishes stamp set. And there's a lot more. We get 2 cases and there's just about a sentiment in there for anything and everything. Oh, thanks for the congrats, you guys. So exciting. Now, these are the 3 colors. Don't these look good together? Again, Balmy Blue, Gorgeous Grape, and Granny Apple Green. And this is my card using the stamp set. And I did a lot of coloring. I did some black embossing, so we're going to do some heat embossing tonight. And then I'm also using the new pearlized doilies. Let me see if I can keep them all together and see if I can get them to shine for you on the camera. They really are pearl. And what I did here is I actually flipped it on the reverse side and I colored it so that it would match. Okay, so let me dig out all the layers we're going to use. So I've got Gorgeous Grape, 11 by 4 1/4, scored at 5 1/2. Balmy Blue, oh, and let me put my little sheet here so you guys can see. Balmy Blue, 5 1/4 by 4. Whisper White, 3 3/4 by 3 1/8. And then I need a white for my stamping, and the die cuts that I'm using tonight are the little bird, which I think is a dove, and then this flower. And I did pop those with Stampin' Dimensionals. So we're using those 2 dies, one of the doilies, and then I don't know if I'll probably not need this scrap, but I have this in case I need it for the sentiment. So let me move everything aside. For inks, I'm using the Memento, the Versamark, and then the 3 colors that I showed you from the beginning. The classic label punch. And lastly, we got pearls, Stampin' Dimensionals, and black embossing powder. So let me get situated. Oh, I did forget to mention, I have a new embossing folder. Nobody can order this yet, but because I was a display stamper at the Onstage in Connecticut, I was sent this in a box of supplies. This is called the Subtle Embossing Folder. I don't know if you can see that on the Balmy Blue. It's a texturized. It reminds me of the textured paper that we used to sell. I'm trying to look on my iPad. Yes, I see that you guys can see it. It's just a subtle effect. That's why it's called subtle. And we're going to use that tonight also. Okay, I'm going to bring in my card base. And then I'm going to bring in the Big Shot to do the embossing with the subtle embossing folder. Now this is one of the dynamic, the thicker ones. So you just need one cutting plate. There, and I think you guys will be able to see it better now that I don't have any layers on it. It's really neat. Okay, so I'm going to glue that in place. I am going to be doing some heat embossing, so we will have a little bit of noise tonight. Now I'm going to bring in my Whisper White. Now the image that I'm using is the one with all the detail, has the leaves and the flowers. This one is the bird or the dove. And then this one is the flower that I cut separately and glued on with Stampin' Dimensionals. I see a lot of oohing and ahhing. This set is beautiful. Okay, I'm going to ink that with Versamark ink. But first I want to run my embossing buddy over the top. For those of you guys that don't have one of these, this is to take out the static. And if you have like greasy fingerprints and you leave fingerprints on there, that takes all of that off. This is a must when embossing. Black embossing powder. Now let me re-ink. And I'm going to bring in my gorgeous grape just so I can see where my white is when I'm stamping. And I did about 1/4 of an inch from each edge. I do keep all of my embossing powders in dishes like this so I don't get it everywhere. And I usually keep a paintbrush handy just so I can take some of the excess embossing powder that may have scattered. Just get a little bit right here. Okay, that one's all set. I'm going to go ahead and stamp the other 2 pieces first before I do the heat embossing. So we've got the dove. And the flower, I'm not using the stem, so I'm just going to ink the flower part of it. The reason I decided to do the black embossing is because I am coloring, I'm doing some watercoloring, and I wasn't sure if the Memento ink was going to smudge on me. By using embossing, it's going to be hard and glossy, and it's going to keep the color in without smudging it. Okay, let me get my heat tool. So I'm going to be noisy just for a little bit. This isn't like the YouTube videos where I can fast forward through this because it's live. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Anne-Marie. Hi, Susan. Okay, it's starting to melt now, so now it'll be quicker. Now you can see how glossy that is once it's melted. And that's what I usually tell everybody, to hold it up to the light. As long as everything is glossy, then you know that everything has melted. Okay. Let me bring this in so you guys can see how I colored it. And in showing this to you, I did hit that with my heat tool, but it's going to be cut anyway, so we should be all set. Now, one thing I need to tell you about the new ink pads. They're not as flexible in the center. I was able to get some of the ink. Whoops, wrong side. So this one's not bad, but there's one of these that I had a hard time. They will loosen up after a while. I keep wanting to open it on the colored side. See, this one is harder to push, so I'm going to show you what I did with that one. Now let's try the balmy blue. Okay, same thing with that. So what I did is, because I'm doing the outside of the image with the blue, I'll start out with the blue. I couldn't get that much in there. So what I did is I just used my Aqua Painter and dipped right there. And it works just as well. Now what I'm doing here, I'm starting in the corners where I want the ink to be darker, and then I'm pulling it out so it's lighter on the edges. So it really, it gets really faint as you pull through. This is another one of those things that takes practice. So as you can see, by dipping in the ink pad, it works just as well. So this is just a, like a washed out background. And it'll dry even lighter as we go along here. Okay, that's it for the blue. Wait, let me add a little bit more here. I'm not happy with that. Okay, so that's it with the blue. I'm also going to do the bird with the blue. And I'm adding more where the wings meet because that's where you would have a shadow. And then right here under the wing, you would have another shadow. And then let's do the flower next, and that's with the gorgeous grape. Now the inside to me would be dark, and then we're going to pull that out. And remember what I'm doing is I'm wiping off of my scrap paper, so I don't want it to be so dark. Okay, now I'm going to bring in the other flowers. Now I colored the foreground part a little bit darker, because again, that's where your shadows would be. And then the front portion gets lighter. So the trick is to start anywhere that you see a corner. And I want a little bit darker there. Okay, now we're going to work with the, what's the color? Granny Apple. See, I'm just learning these colors along with you guys. And what I love about the black embossing, it's bumpy, so it keeps the color in. Now these I don't have to worry too much about the shading because the detail is so small. But see how quick that colors with an Aqua Painter? You could also use a blender pen. So this turns out to be like a watercolor masterpiece. So are you guys getting anxious for June 1st? It's almost here. You'll be able to order any of the stuff I've been showing you. And for those of you that are demonstrators, of course, you've been able to order already. I do have a few more things that you guys don't have, only because I was a display stamper. Susan, no, I'm not using watercolor paper. This is just regular Whisper White. Okay, now let me get my Big Shot again. And this time I'm using the magnetic plate so I can cut out the bird and the flower. And I am going to add washi tape to hold it in place. Now I did notice that I must have touched the beak of the bird, so I'm just going, whoops, I'm going to fix that with my marker. I think I was talking too much and I wasn't watching what I was doing. So that's how you fix that, boo-boo. Okay, these pieces are all set. Now I'm going to bring in the Memento ink to do the sentiment. And the classic label punch. I'm going to try to go live every night this week just to show you some new products. What I'm going to do for tomorrow is I'm going to list a couple stamp sets and I want you guys to pick one and tell me which one to use. Okay, now I'm bringing in the Granny Apple Green. Let me bring in a scrap piece of paper just so I don't mess up anything here. Now, one thing not to do with the doilies when you're inking them. I started out by turning it upside down and pulling. In doing so, I ripped my ink pad right on the end there. Because these little cuts are so delicate, it sliced my ink pad just a little tiny bit right there. So don't do that. All I'm going to do this time is pounce on it. It just takes a little bit longer to do it this way, but at least I'll save my ink pad. Okay, now we're ready to glue everything down. So that's what the colored doily looks like. So you could actually do this any color you want. I just want to make sure I don't have any ink on my fingers. I'm going to bring in the liquid glue. So this doily, you know, like the lipstick color and the new pink, the Coastal Cabana, any of those colors would be gorgeous using this doily. So I'm going to glue this down in the corner. And then I did use Stamping Dimensionals to glue down my stamped layer. Hi, Laura. Yeah, I know I'm quick. I just, everything I do is quick. I don't know how to go like slow speed. But everything's cut ahead of time too. You got to think of that. Make sure I get all these. One more. So this is going to go right here at the top. And then we're also going, oh, I missed one. I can tell. Okay. We're also going to glue down the bird, the dove. I keep saying the bird. I think it's a dove. What do you guys think? That looks like a dove, doesn't it? Sue, yes, the ink on the doily I did on the side that's not pearlized. I think with the pearlized, it's really glossy, and I don't think it would hold if you did it on the pearlized side. So I did it on the white side. So Fran and Kathy agree with me. That is a dove. That's what I thought too. Okay, and then we're going to add the flower right here. And then lastly, I'm going to add the sentiment and some pearls. I'm just going to add glue to half of my sentiment because half of it is going to stick out. And I don't want to glue it on this end. And pearls. And there you go. There's my card for the color challenge that you guys put me up to. So again, let me just dig out the ink pad so you can see the colors that I used. So it does make for a nice card. So here's my challenge for tomorrow night. I do want to post again, same time, 7:00 p.m. I'm going to show you 4 stamp sets with flowers in them. And I'd like you guys to comment which one you would like to see me use tomorrow night. Oh, thanks for all the love, you guys. Okay, we have Abstract Impressions. This is like a 3-set stamp set. Also has the beautiful dies, the butterfly, and then this cluster of flowers. Peaceful Reflection. Accented Blooms. Now this one goes with the classic label punch that carried over into the annual catalog. So this has 3 different images that you can cut out with the punch. And the last one is the Varied Vases. So let me just see if I can set these all out somehow so you guys can see them. It's going to be hard for me to do that. Okay, let me do it this way and I'll hold this one. So let me know which one you think you'd like me to use, and I'll check early tomorrow morning and see what the most popular one is. And then I'll be back here tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern Time to stamp with you again. Have a good night, everyone, and thanks so much for coming.